Trust is like a clean bedsheet. One stain and the whole thing's ruined. I'm Eleanor Miller, and I learned that the hard way. Back when I was 26, I was just a nurse's aide in Chicago, running myself ragged at the hospital, wiping sweat off fevered brows and changing bedpans till my hands ached. It wasn't glamorous, hell, it was barely bearable, but it was honest work. I lived in a tiny apartment on the west side, kept my head down, went to church every Sunday like my mama taught me. I didn't ask for much. A little house, a good man, maybe a kid someday. Small dreams, right? But life has a way of spitting on even the smallest ones. I was a quiet girl, always had been. Growing up, I was the one who'd rather read in the corner than run around with the other kids. My mama used to say I had an old soul, too serious for my own good. By the time I hit my mid-20s, I'd settled into a routine. Work, church, sleep, repeat. I wasn't lonely, not really. But there was this ache, this wanting for something more. Not fame or money, just someone to share the quiet moments with, someone to make the long shifts feel worth it. I'd pray about it sometimes, kneeling by my bed, asking God to send me a sign. And then, like a fool, I thought he did. It was at a church potluck, one of those events where everyone brings a dish and pretends they're family. I showed up with my macaroni casserole, feeling awkward in my faded blue dress, standing off to the side while folks laughed and swapped stories. That's when Adam Johnson walked in. Lord, he was something else. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a smile that could melt ice. His eyes caught mine across the room, and I swear my heart stuttered. He sauntered over, plate in hand, and started talking like we'd known each other forever. "This your casserole?" he asked, scooping a bite. "Tastes like home." I blushed, mumbled something stupid, and that was it. I was gone. Adam had a way about him, like he could charm the stars out of the sky. Over potato salad and lukewarm lemonade, he told me his story. Said he'd grown up rough, got mixed up with drugs in his teens, hit rock bottom. Lost everything, he said, his voice low, his eyes shiny with what I thought was regret. But I clawed my way back, Eleanor. I'm a new man now. I ate it up, every word. There was something about him, tough but tender, broken but rebuilt, that pulled me in. I wanted to be part of his redemption, to believe in his second chance. Looking back, I want to scream at myself, "Wake up, girl!" But back then, I was too busy falling. We started spending time together, quick and reckless. I'd skip extra shifts at the hospital just to meet him for coffee or take walks by the lake. He'd tell these wild stories about his old life, bar fights, late-night deals gone wrong, and I'd hang on, wide-eyed, like he was some kind of hero. My supervisor, Miss Linda, noticed I was slipping. "Eleanor, you're distracted," she said one day, her arms crossed. "They're offering you a promotion. Nurse's assistant supervisor. Don't throw it away for some man." I just smiled, brushed it off. "He's worth it," I told her. Worth it? God, I was blind. I turned down the promotion. More money, better hours, all because I didn't want to miss a single evening with Adam. He was good to me at first, or at least I thought he was. He'd bring me daisies from the corner store, call me Ellie, in this soft voice that made my stomach flip. We'd sit on my couch, eating takeout, talking about nothing and everything. I started picturing a future. Us in a little house. Maybe a swing set in the yard. I'd lie awake at night, his arm around me, thinking I'd found my safe place. I'd pray, thanking God for him, for this life we were building. It felt real, solid, like something I could hold on to. Our wedding came fast, 10 months after that potluck. I wore a secondhand dress, a little yellowed at the hem, but I felt beautiful. We said our vows in a small church, just a handful of folks there, my macaroni casserole sitting on a folding table at the reception. Adam's tie was crooked, his grin wide, and when he said, "I do," I believed him with every piece of me. I promised to love him till death do us part, and I meant it. After, I threw myself into being his wife. I'd wake up early to cook him breakfast. Eggs, bacon, the works. Pack his lunch, scrub our apartment till it gleamed. I'd wait up for him, no matter how late, just to hear about his day. I thought that's what love was. giving everything, holding nothing back. Our place was small, a one-bedroom with creaky floors and a radiator that hissed like it was alive. But I made it ours. I hung cheap curtains, kept flowers on the table, dusted every corner like it was a palace. Adam would come home, kiss my forehead, say, "You're too good for me, Ellie." I'd laugh, tell him to hush, but deep down I felt lucky. Lucky? What a joke. I was so busy playing house, I didn't see the storm coming. I didn't see him for what he was. A liar wrapped in charm, a wolf in a cheap suit. Back then, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. I thought Adam was my forever, my answered prayer. I'd go to work, come home, cook dinner, and fall asleep next to him, his breath warm against my neck. I'd dream of our future, a kid, a dog, Sunday dinners full of laughter. I was so sure it was real. But life's got a way of tearing your dreams to shreds. I trusted Adam, gave him my heart, my time, my everything. And for what? To end up with nothing but a bitter taste in a story I wish I could forget. I was a fool, plain and simple, and the worst was yet to come. I used to think love could fix anything, like some kind of magic glue for broken people. God, I was wrong. Back when I was newly married to Adam Johnson, I thought I'd found my forever. But forever's a lie when you're with a man who's already halfway out the door. Those early days in our Chicago apartment, with its creaky floors and hissing radiator, felt like a dream I didn't deserve. I'd cook his favorite meals, scrub the place spotless, and wait up for him like a damn puppy, thinking that's what a good wife did. But it wasn't long before the cracks started showing, and I was too busy playing house to notice them. It started small, like a pebble in your shoe you try to ignore. Adam began coming home late, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes dodging mine. "Work ran long," he'd mutter, brushing past me to the fridge for a beer. I'd nod, force a smile, even though my stomach twisted. He wasn't the man who'd charmed me at that church potluck, the one with the honey-smooth voice and daisies from the corner store. He was different. Cold. Like he'd locked a door I didn't have the key to. I'd ask how his day was, and he'd snap, "Can you stop nagging, Eleanor? I'm tired." Nagging. I was just trying to talk, to hold on to the man I thought I knew. But I'd swallow my hurt, tell myself I was imagining things, like he said. His phone was another red flag, glued to his hand like it was part of him. He'd angled the screen away when I walked by, typing fast, his jaw tight. One night, I caught a glimpse of a message. A name I didn't know, something about meeting up later. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Who's that, Adam?" I asked, my voice shaky, trying to sound casual. He spun on me, eyes flashing like I'd slapped him. "You're so damn paranoid. You think I'm cheating because of some work text?" Then he hit me where it hurt, dragging up his past. "I've been through hell, Eleanor. Drugs, rock bottom, and now you're gonna treat me like the bad guy?" I froze, my throat tight, feeling like I'd crossed a line. I apologized. God, I actually said sorry, my voice small, while he smirked like he'd won a prize. I went to bed that night, curled up tight, hating myself for doubting him. I kept trying to fix it, like a fool who thinks a sinking ship just needs a better sail. I'd cook his favorite meatloaf, mash potatoes till they were creamy, hoping he'd sit down and talk like he used to. I'd buy dresses I couldn't afford, thinking maybe he'd look at me the way he did at that potluck. One night, I broke down, tears streaming, and grabbed his hand. "Adam, do you still love me?" I asked, my voice pathetic, shaking like a leaf. He just stared, his face blank, and said, "You're overthinking, Ellie. Go to sleep." Overthinking? I wanted to scream, to shake him until the old Adam came back, but instead, I turned away, blaming myself. Maybe I wasn't pretty enough, smart enough. Maybe I'd pushed him away somehow. Then Chris Dubois walked into our lives and everything got uglier. Chris was Adam's coworker at the warehouse, a slick guy with a sharp jaw and eyes that lingered too long. He was handsome, sure, but there was something about him that made my skin crawl, like he was always watching, always testing me. He and Adam were close. Too close. They'd laugh at private jokes, their shoulders brushing, and when I'd walk into the room, they'd go quiet like I was the intruder. One night, Chris came over for dinner, and I swear he was taunting me. He sat so close to Adam their knees touched, his eyes flicking to me like he was daring me to say something. I gripped my fork, my knuckles white, burning with anger, but I told myself I was crazy. It's nothing, Eleanor, I thought. You're seeing things. I tried to hold it together, to keep our life from unraveling. I'd pray at night, kneeling by our bed, begging God to fix my marriage, to bring back the Adam I'd vowed to love. I'd clean the apartment until my hands were raw, thinking maybe if it was perfect, he'd stay. I started leaving notes in his lunch, stupid little things like, "I love you," with a heart drawn in pen. He never mentioned them. I'd find the bags later, crumpled in the trash, my words unread. Every day, I felt smaller, like I was fading into someone I didn't know. I'd look in the bathroom mirror, see puffy eyes and a tired face, and wonder where I'd gone wrong. The worst part was the guilt. I blamed myself for everything. I'd lie awake, Adam snoring beside me, and replay every moment, every fight, searching for my mistake. Was I too clingy, too boring? Did I not love him enough? I was so caught up in fixing him, in being the perfect wife, I didn't see what he was doing, playing me like a damn fiddle. He had a plan, a whole script, and I was just the idiot following his cues. I'd think back to our wedding, his crooked tie, his wide grin, and wonder how it all went so wrong. I'd remember Miss Linda's warning at the hospital, her voice sharp. "You're throwing away your future." I'd brushed her off, but now her words echoed, mocking me. Looking back, I want to grab that younger me and yell, "Open your eyes!" I was so desperate to keep him, to hold on to the dream I'd built in my head, that I ignored the truth. Adam wasn't just drifting, he was gone, and he was dragging me down with him. I thought I could save us, that love was enough to fix anything. But love's not a cure. It's a trap when you give it to the wrong person. I was drowning, and he was the one holding my head under. I was a fool, clinging to a man who didn't deserve a second of my time, and the worst was still waiting, lurking like a shadow I couldn't outrun. The day my world shattered, I learned that pain isn't just a feeling, it's a weight, crushing you until you're nothing but dust. I'd spent months trying to glue my marriage back together, ignoring the cracks in Adam's lies, convincing myself I could fix him. But life doesn't care about your hopes. It waits until you're on your knees, then kicks you in the teeth. That Tuesday afternoon when I was pulled over on the highway, I didn't just lose my freedom, I lost myself. And the worst part? I didn't even see it coming. I was driving home from a double shift at the hospital, my back screaming, my eyes gritty from exhaustion. All I wanted was a hot shower and my bed. I was humming to some old gospel tune on the radio, the Chicago skyline fading in my rearview, when I saw flashing lights behind me. Cops. My stomach dropped. I wasn't speeding, hadn't done anything wrong. I pulled over, hands trembling, thinking maybe my taillight was busted. 2 officers approached, their faces stone cold, and one barked, "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am." I obeyed, confused, my heart thumping like a drum. "We need to search your car," he said, no explanation. I nodded, too stunned to argue. They popped the trunk, and then I saw it, a plastic bag stuffed with white powder held up like a trophy. Drugs. I stared, my mouth dry, my head spinning. "That's not mine," I said, my voice cracking. "I don't even know what that is." But they weren't listening. The cuffs snapped around my wrists, cold and tight, and they shoved me into the squad car. I sat there, numb, thinking, this is a mistake. Someone set me up. At the station, it got worse. They threw me in a gray room that stunk of bleach, my hands still cuffed, my mind a whirlwind. I kept replaying the moment, the bag, the cop's hard eyes, trying to make sense of it. That's when Adam showed up. I thought he'd come to save me, to tell them I was innocent. But when I saw his face, red-rimmed eyes, a fake tremble in his voice, I knew I was done for. He wouldn't look at me, just talk to the cops, his voice low. "I've been worried about her for a while," he said. "She's been acting strange, secretive." Strange. Secretive. I wanted to scream. I was busting my ass at work, cooking his damn dinners, washing his clothes, and he had the nerve to call me strange? I tried to speak, but my throat closed up like I was choking on my own life. He was painting me as the villain, and I was too stunned to fight back. The trial was a nightmare, a circus where I was the main act. Adam took the stand, looking like a heartbroken saint, and spun a story that made me sound like a stranger. He told the jury I'd been erratic, claimed he'd found pills in my purse, said he suspected I was dealing. Every word was a lie, but he sold it with that same charm that hooked me at the potluck. His voice cracked just right, his eyes glistened. Hell, he could have won an Oscar. "She's not the woman I married," he said, and I swear the jury nodded along. I sat there, my lawyer scribbling useless notes, while the room stared at me like I was garbage. I wanted to lunge at him, to claw that lying face off, but I just sat, my hands shaking, my heart sinking. The jury didn't deliberate long. Guilty. 15 years for possession and intent to distribute. 15 years for a crime I'd never touched. Stateville Correctional was a different kind of hell. Gray walls, air thick with despair, every day a battle to keep your soul from rotting. I lost everything. My job, my home, my dignity. My mama died while I was inside, and they wouldn't let me go to her funeral. I begged, tears streaming, but the warden just shrugged. "Rules are rules," he said, like her death was nothing. I wrote letters to friends, family, anyone who'd listen, pleading my case, but no one wrote back. They all believed Adam, the good guy, the reformed man who'd never hurt a fly. "He's so sweet," my cousin wrote once, the only reply I got. "You must have done something, Eleanor." Done something? I'd done nothing but love a snake, and it cost me everything. Nights were the worst. I'd lie on my bunk, the springs jabbing my back, staring at the cracked ceiling. I'd think about Adam, his smile, his lies, and a rage would burn through me, so hot it scared me. Why? Why me? Why'd he destroy me? I'd pray sometimes, but it felt empty, like God had closed the door. I stopped going to the prison chapel after a while, couldn't stomach the talk of forgiveness when all I wanted was blood. The other inmates kept their distance. Some thought I was weak. Others thought I was trouble. I didn't care. I stopped caring about a lot of things. My hair started graying at the edges. My hands got rough from scrubbing floors, and the woman I used to be faded away. I'd catch my reflection in the dented metal mirror. A stranger, hard and hollow. I blamed myself for a long time. I'd lie awake, the prison quiet except for distant snores, and wonder what I'd done wrong. Was I too trusting? Too naive? Did I miss the signs because I was so desperate to be loved? I'd replay our marriage every moment, searching for my mistake. I thought if I'd been better, prettier, smarter, more attentive, he wouldn't have betrayed me. I was so caught up in my own guilt, I didn't see the truth. Adam didn't just betray me, he planned it. He and that snake, Chris Dubois, had a script. And I was the fool who played my part. They'd framed me, torn my life apart, and I'd let them. But even in that dark cell, a spark flickered. A need to know why, to make them pay. I didn't have answers yet, but I swore I'd find them, even if it was the last thing I did. 15 years in a cage will carve you into something new, something sharp, something dangerous. When I walked out of Stateville Correctional, I wasn't the soft, trusting fool who'd loved Adam Johnson. I was a blade, honed by rage and loss, and I had one goal, to find the truth and make him pay. I'd spent every night in that prison replaying his lies, his fake tears, the way he'd sold me out like I was nothing. But prison didn't just break me, it taught me to fight. And when I heard a rumor that Adam was living a cozy life with Chris Dubois in Phoenix, I knew what I had to do. This wasn't about justice anymore. It was about settling a score. It started with a whisper from a loudmouth cellmate in my last hypothesized year inside. She was always bragging about her connections, but one day she leaned in, smirking. "Heard your man's in Phoenix living it up. Got a kid, a house, the works. With some guy named Chris." The name hit me like a punch. Chris Dubois, Adam's slick coworker, the one with the taunting grin and eyes that cut. It all snapped into place, like a puzzle I'd been too blind to solve. Adam and Chris weren't just friends. They were together, and they'd framed me to get me out of the picture. They'd built their perfect life on my ashes while I rotted for a crime I didn't commit. I sat on my bunk that night, my blood boiling, my hands shaking. I wanted to scream to tear the world apart, but instead I planned. The day I got out, I had nothing. No job, no family, just a few bucks from the prison and a fire in my chest. I checked into a cheap motel, the kind with stained carpets and a flickering neon sign, and got to work. I found a private investigator named Frank, a gruff guy with a cheap suit and a cigarette habit. Dig up everything, I told him, sliding my last bit of cash across the table. Where they are, what they're doing, every damn detail. Frank didn't blink, just nodded and disappeared into the city. I spent those weeks pacing the motel room, the walls closing in, my mind stuck on Adam's fake tears at my trial, Chris's smug laugh at our dinner table. I'd close my eyes and see them, happy, free, while I'd lost everything. My mama, my home, my faith. Frank came back with a folder thick as a phone book. Photos, addresses, bank records. The ugly truth laid bare. Adam and Chris were in Phoenix, living in a tidy house with a white picket fence and a green lawn. They'd adopted a kid, a little boy who played in the yard while they smiled like they'd cracked the code to happiness. I stared at the photos, my hands trembling, my stomach twisting. There they were, living the life I'd dreamed of, while I'd scrubbed prison floors for 15 years. I saw Chris's arm around Adam, their easy laughter, and it hit me. They'd planned it all. The drugs in my trunk, Adam's lies on the stand, every step calculated to erase me. I wanted to vomit, to burn the photos to ash, but instead, I packed a duffel bag and bought a bus ticket to Phoenix. The ride was long, the desert stretching endless outside the window, but I barely noticed. My mind was a storm, rage, pain, and a cold, hard need for answers. When I got to Phoenix, I found their house, a picture-perfect suburban dream. I stood across the street, hidden in the shadow of a sycamore tree, watching as dusk settled over the neighborhood. Through their window, I saw Adam laughing, Chris ruffling the kid's hair, the three of them looking like a damn greeting card. My life, my pain, my years in a cell, all so they could have this. My nails dug into my palms, drawing blood, and I knew I couldn't walk away without facing them. I waited until the kid was asleep, then marched to their door, my heart pounding so loud it drowned out the crickets. I knocked sharp and hard, and when Adam opened the door, his face went white as a ghost. "Eleanor?" he whispered, like I was a nightmare come to life. I pushed past him, my body trembling with fury, and there was Chris, sprawled on the couch, a beer in his hand. He looked up, and that same smug grin spread across his face. "Well, look who's here," he said, his voice dripping with mockery. I didn't waste a second. "Why?" I screamed, my voice raw, echoing in the quiet house. "Why'd you do it, Adam? Why'd you ruin me?" He stammered, stepping back, his hands raised like I was the threat. "Ellie, I didn't mean—" I cut him off, my words sharp as knives. "You set me up. You and this bastard framed me for drugs so you could run off together." Adam collapsed into a chair, his hands covering his face. "I'm sorry, Ellie," he said, his voice breaking. "I loved Chris, but I couldn't let people know. I was scared. We had to—" I laughed, a bitter, jagged sound. "Scared? You put me in prison for 15 years. Chris just sat there, smirking like he was enjoying the show. "You were never good enough for him," he said, his eyes cold, cutting. "You were just in the way." I wanted to lunge at him, to claw that grin off his face, to make him feel the pain I'd carried all those years. But I stood there, trembling, my heart shredding in my chest. The truth laid bare. They'd planned it, every step, and I'd been the fool who trusted them. I turned and walked out, my head spinning, my body shaking with rage. I stood under that sycamore tree, staring at their house, their lie of a life, and something inside me broke. I'd given Adam everything, my love, my trust, my future, and he'd thrown it away for this. 15 years of my life gone, so they could play house. I clenched my fists, my breath ragged, and I knew I couldn't let them walk away clean. Not after what they'd done. Not after what they'd taken. The world was quiet, but Inside me, a storm was brewing, and it wasn't done yet. I stood outside Adam and Chris's perfect little house in Phoenix, their laughter still ringing in my ears, and something inside me snapped. 15 years of pain, of lies, of rotting in a cell while they played happy family. It was too much. I wasn't thinking about right or wrong anymore. I just wanted them to hurt, to feel the weight I'd carried all those years. I'd lost everything because of them, my job, my mama, my dreams, and I wasn't leaving without taking something back. I'd bought a gun in Chicago before I left, a cheap thing from a guy who didn't ask questions. I never planned to use it, but it was in my jacket pocket, heavy, like a promise I didn't know I'd keep. That night, after their lights went out, I went back. My heart pounded so loud I thought it'd wake the neighborhood, but my hands were steady. I didn't knock this time. I slipped around to the patio door, jimmied the lock with a trick I'd learned from a cellmate who'd done time for burglary. The house was silent, the kind of quiet that feels alive, holding its breath. I moved through the living room, past the kids' toys scattered on the carpet, and up the stairs. My boots were soft on the steps, but every creak felt like a gunshot in my ears. Their bedroom door was cracked open. I saw them lying there, Chris's arms slung over Adam, both of them sleeping like they didn't have a care in the world. For a second, I froze, my mind flashing to Adam's arm around me, back when I thought he was mine. Then I remembered his lies, his fake tears at my trial, the way he'd sold me out. I remembered Chris's smirk, his cruel words. You were never good enough. My rage surged, hot and unstoppable. I pulled the gun out, my finger on the trigger, and I didn't hesitate. I shot Chris first, right in the chest. He gasped, eyes wide, but he didn't have time to scream. Adam jerked awake, scrambling, shouting, "Eleanor, no!" But I fired again, and he went still, blood pooling on the sheets. The shots echoed, loud and final, and for the first time in 15 years, I felt light, like I'd cut a chain off my soul. I wasn't scared. I was alive. I stood there, the gun hot in my hand, staring at them. The kid was still asleep down the hall. I'd checked. I didn't want him to see this, didn't want him tangled in the mess they'd made. What I'd done wasn't justice, not the kind you read about in books. It was raw, ugly, desperate, but it was mine. They'd taken my freedom, my family, my faith, and I'd taken something back. I dropped the gun on the floor, walked out the front door, and didn't look back. The desert air was cool against my face as I climbed into my car and drove to the nearest police station. I didn't run, didn't hide. I walked in, hands raised, and told them everything. I killed Adam Johnson and Chris Dubois, I said, my voice steady. They framed me, sent me to prison for 15 years. I shot them, and I'm not sorry. The cops stared like I was some kind of lunatic, but they listened. They took my statement, locked me in a cell, and that was that. The trial was quick, a blur of faces and whispers. The courtroom was packed, reporters scribbling, strangers gawking like I was a sideshow. My lawyer tried to spin it, talking about trauma and temporary insanity, but I didn't care about getting off. I took the stand and told the truth, every brutal detail. Adam's betrayal, Chris's taunts, the drugs in my trunk, the years I lost. I didn't cry, didn't beg. I wanted the world to know why I did it, to hear my story, not just Adam's lies. The jury didn't care, or maybe they couldn't handle the truth. They came back in under an hour, guilty, murder in the first degree, life without parole. The judge read the sentence, his voice flat, and I sat there, hands folded, feeling oddly calm. Part of me felt light, like I'd finally set down a burden. Part of me felt heavy, knowing my life was over, same as theirs. Now I'm back behind bars, same gray walls, same cold air. But this time, it's different. This time, I know what I did, and I own it. I'm not the fool who trusted Adam, not the broken woman who begged for answers. I'm Eleanor Miller, and I played the hand I was dealt. My life was a rigged game from the start, stacked against me by a man who never loved me and a system that didn't care. But I flipped the table before I walked away. Adam and Chris don't get to laugh anymore. They don't get to live the life they stole from me. I think about their kids sometimes, the boy they adopted. I hope he's okay. Hope he's with people who'll love him right, not like the liars who raised him. I think about my mama, the years I lost. the woman I could have been. It hurts, like a knife twisting in my chest, but I don't regret what I did. I couldn't let them win, not after everything. Life ain't fair and justice is a myth, but I got mine, even if it cost me everything. The prison chapel is quiet these days. I go sometimes, not to pray, but to sit in the silence. I don't ask God for forgiveness. I don't think He's listening anyway. Instead, I think about the girl I used to be, the one who dreamed of a little house and a good man. She's gone, buried under 15 years of pain and a night in Phoenix that changed everything. But in her place is someone else, someone who fought back, who refused to be erased. The bars around me are cold, the day's long, but I'm not afraid anymore. I've got my story, my truth, and no one can take that away. If I had to do it again, I'd pull that trigger just the same.